Donald Trump has more courage in his middle finger than any other president in history. Donald Trump, right here in his middle finger, he's got more courage in his flipper, in his middle finger than any other president in history. And I have proof. Look, here's the video from yesterday. This was him in Detroit. Somebody yells up something about being a pedophile protector, and Donald Trump points at him, and then he flips him. I don't think I have to bleep it out because it's so far away. But there it is, right there. That's it. That made the rounds. That made my afternoon. And Donald Trump doesn't care. And people are like, oh, Donald Trump caught on camera. Donald Trump wasn't caught on camera. Donald Trump knows he's on camera. Donald Trump makes it a point to be on camera as much as humanly possible. Donald Trump knows. Donald Trump uses the media and the press better than any president, better really than anyone ever has. Maybe except for the Kardashians. But he does it. He knows exactly what he's doing at all times, and he does it really, really well, really better than, like I said, anybody else in the history of mankind. So he knew he was on camera, and this thing went viral, and now everybody knows. Don't mess with Donald Trump. Don't yell at him that he's a pedophile protector. Don't do any of that stuff. You want to talk about Donald Trump is not the person you need to yell about or seek answers from or be suspect about when it comes to the Epstein files. You know who is? The Clintons. Because yesterday we told you how Bill Clinton decided he wasn't going to show up for his deposition. Well, guess what? Hillary, she didn't show up either.
Well, here we are again. I don't think it's any secret. Former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton joined her husband in defying a bipartisan lawful congressional subpoena to show up today. I think what's most disappointing to the Oversight Committee is the fact that we have, in good faith, negotiated with the Clintons' attorneys for 5 months. Throughout the past 5 months, they've implied to us they were trying to make a date work. In fact, the last date we had, they notified us 3 days beforehand, said that they would love to come, but they have a funeral to attend.
A funeral to attend. I was probably Joe Biden's. Wait, he's still alive? Somebody died, or I'll forget. It was somebody. Anyway, the fact of the matter is that the Clintons have now obstructed justice by ignoring the congressional subpoenas, but that the Oversight Committee has issued to them, both of them now. Bill Clinton said, I'm not coming. Hillary Clinton said, nah, thanks. I got other plans. And so now we move forward into, I guess, the contempt of Congress. Maybe we send U.S. Marshals. Maybe we send ICE. That would be great. Wouldn't it be great if we sent ICE? I mean, they're so effective at getting criminals off the streets in all the other sanctuary cities, which we have information about in just a minute, because Donald Trump is going to bankrupt sanctuary cities. And that's basically how you do it. But first, big announcement on the personal note here. We have been dangerously close to 100,000 subscribers on YouTube for a while now. For a while, we've been dangerously close. But this morning, we got even closer. We are now... Let's see. Let me see it. Let's see how good my math is. We're at 99,423, which, if my math is correct, means we are 567. No, that's wrong. 577. That's right. 577 subscribers away from hitting 100,000. Now, will that happen during this broadcast? Probably not. I mean, look, if you're watching right now and you're not subscribed, if you're on YouTube right now and you're watching me and you're not subscribed, go ahead and hit subscribe and we'll see the numbers go up. Maybe we can get to the coveted 100,000 subscribers on YouTube by the end of the show. And it's been a long time coming. We've been at this for a long time, and a lot of people are surprised we're not there yet. I know it's a lot slower. It takes a lot longer than they tell you. And it doesn't really mean anything. You don't get a big check or anything like that. You get a little silver plaque. I don't think it's real silver, which stinks because silver's up to like $82 an ounce, but I don't think it's a real silver plaque. But you get what we're going to do is maybe I'll stay on today. Maybe I'll keep this up running in the background, and we'll stay on today until we hit 100,000, so we can all celebrate live. Like I said, though, that's a big ask because now it's 607. Oh, look at that. 575. So we're getting closer every single minute. That's pretty good. Anybody who's joining us right now for the first time on YouTube, if you're not yet a subscriber, make sure you subscribe. Or you know what? Maybe this is a good time to text all your friends. Send a group text. Put it in, if you've got a big email chain, or maybe you get like a work email I used to do this when I worked at a horrible office job, is I would reply all, like somebody, like the president of the company would send out a memo saying, here's an update to everything, and all the company is CC'd on it. Just hit reply all and say, hey, everybody, follow this YouTube channel real quick. We're trying to get to 100,000, and then hit send and see what happens. Don't do it if you think it's going to adversely affect your employment. Or do. I mean, again, it's entirely, you know, your office environment better than, look at this. Now we're racing up now we're only 572 away from hitting the 100,000. So that's very exciting. That's very exciting. Now Rumble, we're still at the 50. We're getting there. We're getting close. It looks like we're probably going to get our silver plaque before we get our green Rumble thing, but that's just the way it goes. We'll keep checking back, by the way, too, throughout the broadcast. So make sure, I'll keep my eye on it for sure. So make sure that you subscribe if you haven't already. And that goes for any and all of our platforms too. If you're listening on the podcast, boom. Tell iTunes, tell Spotify, tell wherever you're listening, let them know I am so excited to be listening to this podcast, and I would like to listen to this podcast all the time. Let them know so that you can get this content delivered every single time I hit the send button, which is quite often. All right, let's get back to the sanctuary city mess here. So President Donald Trump yesterday, he made a big announcement. In fact, let me start with the live announcement. He was in Dearborn, Michigan during the show. We played a little bit of it during the after party, which we had a great attendance. It was our first after party, so I mean, we didn't really have a lot planned, but it was great attendance for our first Facebook after party. And if you want to join, there should be a link in the description of this video where you can join the next one. But during that, Donald Trump was speaking in Dearborn, Michigan, and here is what he said about sanctuary. This is a big announcement he made right there in Michigan at the Ford plant about sanctuary cities and states.
We're giving 90-day notices to places like California, Scott. Right away, we're going to send out that notice. Who would bill the federal government as people poured into the state to send those people back because no country can afford to do it. No country can afford to take in millions of people, pay for their education, their health care, their hospitals. You just can't do it. And we all have a heart. You can't do it. But many of those people are murderers. They're people released from jails, prisons, mental institutions, insane asylums. They're people that are drug dealers. They're addicts. Additionally, starting February 1st, we're not making any payments to sanctuary cities or states having sanctuary cities because they do everything possible to protect criminals at the expense of American citizens, and it breeds fraud and crime and all of the other problems that come. So we're not making any payment to anybody that supports sanctuary cities.
Look at that. No more money. We're going to cut.
We've also suspended nearly 8,000.
Yeah, we're going to get that in a minute. So he's defunding the sanctuary cities, which I'd like to point out, this is a great idea. It's something he's very proud of. He put it on Truth Social. He wrote effective February 1st. No more payments will be made by the federal government to states for their corrupt criminal protection centers known as sanctuary cities. All they do is breed crime and violence. If states want them, they will have to pay for them. Make America great again. So Donald Trump laying down the hammer, man, throwing down the gauntlet. Donald Trump saying, hey, we're not going to take it anymore and we're not going to pay you. We're going to defund sanctuary cities. Again, this wasn't even his idea. Do you remember back to the George Floyd days, the defund the police craze? It was in Minneapolis. It's where it started. Minneapolis, Minnesota, California. It went to LA, all over the place. It was all about defunding the police. People didn't like the police. People didn't like that the police were, fighting crime. They didn't like that the police were locking up criminals. They didn't like the way the police were acting when they were apprehending people. They were mad about George Floyd. They decided to destroy the city. And then they said, we need to defund the police. And they did it in a lot of places. They did it in Los Angeles. Do you remember in Los Angeles, the mayor said, I'm not going to defund the police. And so an angry mob surrounded the mayor's house in the middle of the night, banging drums and chanting and screaming. And then the mayor took $120 million away from the police department. Do you remember that? That's exactly what happened. This is a Democrat idea. If you disagree with somebody or you don't like something that somebody does, you just take away their money. Now, a lot of liberals on the left are saying this is in direct violation of freedom of speech. These cities and these states are allowed to claim sanctuary status. Well, legally, no, they're not, because we do have federal laws that they could be breaking. But even if it were a free speech issue, that doesn't matter. Nobody's saying you can't call yourself a sanctuary city. Nobody's saying you can't call yourself a sanctuary state. You want to call yourself a sanctuary city? Have at it. You can call yourself whatever the heck you want. Doesn't mean you have to get paid. Doesn't mean the federal government has to give you money. And if you are running a sanctuary city or a sanctuary state and you're getting money from the federal government, you're not anymore, because you are helping people in violation of federal law violate federal law. And Donald Trump just said that's just nonsensical. And Donald Trump is not a nonsensical president. He is a common sense president. In fact, President Donald Trump has more common sense in his middle finger than any other president in history. He's got more. There it is. There, look at all that common sense. He's got more common sense in his middle finger than any other president in history. I'm going to be playing that clip a lot today, by the way. If you like that clip, you're in for a treat. If you don't like that clip, you probably want to go somewhere. But before you do, subscribe to our YouTube channel, because look at this. We're up to 99,441, which means you only need 559 more. We're gonna make it there. If we keep up this pace, we should be there by mid-evening. By the time we're all sitting down to dinner, we should be just about ready to cross that 100,000 mark. You know what's good? You know what sucks is I'll probably be like in the shower or something, or I'll be at the gas station filling up my car, and I'll start getting text messages from like my mom. My mother tracks my followers more than I know how many followers I have, because I get a text message from my mother, who's stalking my YouTube, apparently, saying, "Congratulations, you just broke 94,500." And I'm like, "Thanks. I don't really know why that's exciting." But anyway, well, like I said, it'll happen sometime today. I'm trying to push it so that it happens throughout the show, and anything you could do. We got about 45 minutes. Maybe we'll go a little longer today, just in case, just so we can, maybe we'll just sit and beg. We'll spend the last 15 minutes begging for people to follow our YouTube. I think that's probably a good use. It's probably a good use of everyone's time. Now, President Donald Trump wasn't just talking about sanctuary cities and sanctuary states and revoking their sanctuary status, or at least revoking the money of those states that have, which, by the way, it works. Hanover, New Hampshire yesterday, Hanover, New Hampshire, they were voting on sanctuary status, and you know what? They denied. They denied. Here, I want to share this with you. This is from the Dartmouth. Hanover rejects sanctuary city status. This is from January 9th. Over the weekend, town officials revised an ordinance that violated a state law mandating compliance with immigration and customs enforcement. So the town of Hanover, New Hampshire, they have just said, we're not going to be a sanctuary city because, number one, New Hampshire is not a sanctuary state. The Hanover Select Board unanimously voted to adopt a policing ordinance that will expand the town's cooperation with ICE. On December 8th, this concludes months of deliberation over how to best comply with the July 21st state law that mandates that local government cannot impede ICE investigation. So this is how it works, right? First, the federal government says, look, you got to comply with the federal law. You got to comply with ICE agents. We need local law enforcement to help us, not hinder us. Then you go to these states and you say to the states, we're going to take away all of your money. All of your money. And if you don't you comply with the federal law and you do lose all of your money, then, well, that's going to be bad for you. So the states then force all of their cities to take votes and say, we're not going to be a sanctuary city anymore. Also, that's home to Dartmouth College, which, there was a shooting. An Ivy League college had a Brown University over the Christmas break. Very sad. There was a shooting there, and two people died. The shooter was later found dead in a warehouse, which is still kind of, I think there's some conspiracy theories still to be investigated on that front. But at the same time, this is college towns making themselves safer. And what better way to be safer than to, reject sanctuary status? Anyway, so that's basically what we've got. That's basically what we've got going on over there. Now, the other thing that's happening is that President Donald Trump, he was doing interviews and he was asked a couple of things. The first thing he was asked was, this interviewer, by the way, is, okay, let's go back a little bit. Donald Trump was in Dearborn, Michigan, and he was interviewed by the new guy from CNN, Tony, what's his name, who is, I guess he's been elevated by Barry Weiss, the new chief. But before that, he asked President Donald Trump about an interview on CNN with Renee Good's father. Renee Good is the woman who was killed by the ICE agent because she rammed him with her car. Her father apparently is a big Trump supporter. Listen to this.
Nothing about charges or anything that, just an investigation into what happened in terms of the ICE agents' actions. But they were, according to the prosecutors resigning today, pressuring them to investigate Renee's actions and Becca, her wife's actions. How do you feel about all that?
Well, I'm not blaming anybody. I mean, it's a hard situation all the way around. It's hard for for everybody involved. I mean, the ICE agent, at first I didn't see the footage where, he was actually, he was actually being ran. I mean, I seen the bump of the car hitting his legs. And so in a flash like that, it's hard to say how you would react. From my understanding that he had been through that before, maybe dragged or something. And so, like I said, it's just a hard situation for everybody. Becca, she's a great person as well. I mean, I don't have any many enemies. I love everybody, and that's what the Bible tells us: love our neighbors as we love ourselves. But I think there's some bad choices, and the word says, "For the wrath of God will come upon the children of disobedience." And it's I don't blame ICE, I don't blame Rebecca, I don't blame Renee. I just wish that if we're walking the Spirit of God, I don't think she would have been there. That's the way I look at it.
Man, you want to talk about, here's how you leave a CNN reporter speechless. Just start quoting the Bible. If you want to cover a topic that CNN reporters have absolutely no idea about, just start quoting scripture. Just start rolling through the Psalms, roll through, some of your Ecclesiastes quotes. Anything from the book of Mark is good. And they will shut up because they have no idea what you're talking about. And they can't believe, here's a guy whose daughter was killed by an ICE agent, and he says, I love everybody. And he says, ye who walk through the wicked shall feel the wrath of God. I forget even the quote. He knows it better than I do. But the fact of the matter is, he's saying, look, I just wish everybody would walk in the path of God. And if that were the way, then, maybe we wouldn't be in this situation. Is he talking about her impeding law enforcement? Is he talking about her driving into a guy with her car? Is he talking about her being in a lesbian relationship? I don't know. He could be talking about all of those things. But CNN just has absolutely no answer for that. This is a guy who supports Donald Trump, loves Jesus Christ, loves God, is church-going, lost his daughter, and blames no one. Doesn't blame his daughter, doesn't blame her wife, doesn't blame the ICE agent, doesn't blame the president. And CNN they got up to the base and they just struck out. They thought they were going to hit a home run with this guy, but that's not exactly what happened. President Donald Trump, like I said, was asked by Tony, about this interview, about the father. Here's what he said about the father being a big supporter. And listen to President Donald Trump's empathetic view. It's very similar to what the dad actually said.
The death of Renee Nicole Good. I've been speaking to her father, who is a big supporter of yours, like many Americans are. But he's heartbroken right now.
I can understand that.
He's heartbroken because his daughter is dead. That's obvious. He's also heartbroken because your administration so quickly has come out and said she's a domestic terrorist. What do you want to say to her father right now?
Well, I want to say to the father that I love all of our people. They can be on the other side. As you say, he might be on my side.
He is on your side.
And I think that's great. And I do. I think it's great. And I would bet you that she, under normal circumstances, was a very solid, wonderful person. But, her actions were pretty tough. I mean, I've seen it many ways and many different shapes and forms. But the bottom line is, look, we have hundreds of thousands of murderers in our countries, killers. ICE is trying to get them out. They were let in through an open border policy of Sleepy Joe Biden. ICE is working very hard to get them out. Their job is being made very, very difficult. And, when you look at that tape, it can be viewed two ways, I guess. But when you look at the way that car was pulled away, there are a couple of versions of that tape that are very, very bad.
Yeah. So President Donald Trump kind of parroting a little bit, saying, look, I'm sure under any other circumstance, I'm sure she was a wonderful person, but the actions she took were tough. She did some very tough things, he says. And as a result, she put herself in a position to be harmed by ICE. And Donald Trump says, look, I'm sure she was a great person. I love everybody. I love everybody on the other side. Sounding a lot like the father. Sounding exactly like the father and not like the leftists who have been screaming and yelling bloody murder and murderer. And in fact, there was a clip of Will Cain. Hang on, let me find Maxwell Frost is one of these clowns in Congress. He's from Orlando, unfortunately. And basically what happens is these Democrats in Orlando, we're trying to get rid of them. We're trying to, redistrict them all out. But Maxwell Frost, he's one of the guys who tried to fly down and see Kilmar Abrego Garcia, and he got denied access because he's basically a nobody. But there was a segment with Will Cain on Fox News, and Will Cain got, let's see, is this the clip? I'm going to start it here because this is the difference between Donald Trump, Renee Good's father, and the Democrat Party. Listen carefully to this back and forth here.
Been consistent talking about due process. Last June, you wrote, the United States Constitution is crystal clear. Everyone in this country is entitled to due process. You, at that time, were talking about Kilmar Abrego Garcia. And that is what you and I had a debate about, due process. But you have also, Congressman, called the ICE officer involved in this incident a murderer. You have said it is murder. Now, there has been no completed investigation. There's been very little evidence offered up besides a viral video. And I'm curious if that condemnation of yours, with so little evidence, so quickly, without an investigation, is how you are telling the rest of us how to define due process.
What I'm saying is the fact that I saw the video with my own eyes of that man looking the woman in the face and shooting her in the face as her car then sped away uncontrollably.
Congressman, you used a very specific legal term. To use the term murder, murder has a definition. Murder has a definition, and you use that. It's a criminal definition.
That's the term I'm using. I'm not. What I am saying is, yes, that officer is entitled to due process. Yes, there should be a process. But two things. Number one, Renee Nicole Good was not given due process. That ICE agent was jury and executioner in that moment for that woman. But number two, and this is very, very important, within minutes, do you know who the first person to come out and label someone in this was? It was this administration. When Kristi Noem, when Stephen Miller came out and labeled Renee Nicole Good
going to say, but let's just suggest
and that
for
is,
a moment.
Wait,
we all understand your point that they called her a domestic terrorist, but you have met tit for tat. You have simply done the exact same thing that you are condemning Noem for doing. You are calling an officer a murderer.
It is not about tit for tat, because here's the thing. It is DHS themselves that are saying they're the ones that are going to do the investigation. They're the ones that are going to look into it and do due process and look and see if it's justified killing of Renee Nicole Good. Then you have the Secretary of the Department of Homeland Security, the person who's supposed to be on top of this investigation.
With all due respect, I'm not going to allow you to filibuster. We have a limited amount of time together. The question is whether or not you believe in due process. You have gotten your point out that you believe it was wrong for the administration to define her as a domestic terrorist. But you're here today talking to me about due process, and I'm concerned about your fidelity or understanding of due process when you deem an innocent man, innocent until proven guilty, is part of the United States Constitution. When you deem an innocent man a murderer, and you were an elected official, let's focus on you. You are an elected official with very little evidence. All you have is a viral video. And you condemned the man, who, by the way, I think you are liable. I think I would be careful if I were you, Congressman, for defamation. You, Steve Kerr, Doc Rivers, anyone else, I think you should be careful because you have crossed over the line of defamation. But for our purposes here today,
I'm not going to be careful in terms of calling out.
I think you have no fidelity to due process.
Oh, yes, I do.
Okay, I watched that. Sorry, I went a little long with that, but I was really enjoying it. Maxwell Frost. Like I said, I think he's the youngest person currently in office. Either that or the transgender person is. It's one of the two of them. He was at one point the youngest congressperson serving, and that is another reason why you probably shouldn't. You don't want really, really old people in Congress, but you don't want really, really young people either. That's one of the trade-offs that you have to look at. But the fact of the matter is, he's out there yelling and screaming, "This guy's a murderer! This guy's a murderer!" and then complaining about due process when it comes to Kilmar Abrego Garcia. Now, President Donald Trump, is standing by ICE, of course, as he always does, talking about the federal officers as he always does, and Stephen Miller was. It's really interesting. A lot of people in the media And this guy, Tony, asked this weird question. I played it earlier today during the 47 Daily podcast, which if you don't listen to, you should every single day. It's available at the47daily.com. But there was this question that he asked him, which I wasn't a big fan of because it was one of those BS questions that doesn't exist. He's basically in a hypothetical. He's taking something President Donald Trump said last week about Europe and saying, hypothetically, do you feel the same way about the United States? I'll play it for you again. Listen, here it is.
I was very interested in a comment you made recently about nothing being able to limit your action overseas except for your own morality and your own mind. I'd like to take that same question and apply it here in the U.S. Is there anything that limits your power, your movement, your action here other than your own morality?
Well, I talk about morality. I'm a moral person. I don't like seeing death. I don't like seeing our people hurt. I don't like seeing the other side hurt either. You know, when we went into Venezuela, we lost nobody, but a lot of people on the other side were killed. I don't like that. Somebody else would say, oh, that's wonderful. I don't like that. So, yeah, it's limited by my morality, and I have a very high grade of morality, so therefore it's limited.
Not the Constitution, not the courts? That's what I thought you were going to say.
Well, the Constitution and courts, that goes without saying. But you're asking me what really can stop? We'll never get to the courts. We'll never get to the Constitution because I want to see what's good for our country. And you know what? The courts want to see that, too.
Look at that. Donald Trump not falling for the trick. And he tried to trap him. He's like, what would stop you here at the United States? You said your morality would stop you in Europe. What about here in the U.S.? And Donald Trump goes, well, of course, my morality is my morality no matter what continent we're talking about. He goes, well, what about the Constitution? And Donald Trump's like, doofus. And he made a comment about this. Was actually kind of funny. He made a comment about how this guy should be lucky that we won, that the Republicans won, because he said if we didn't win, you wouldn't have this job. Barry Weiss wouldn't be in charge of CBS, and she wouldn't have brought you up for this interview. And Tony listen to this.
Mr. President, thank you very much. For the record, I do think I'd have this job even if the other guys won.
Yeah, but at a lesser salary. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Mr. President, that's just I'm sorry, I have to watch that one again. Oh wait, hold on. Where here it is. This is a great one.
Mr. President, thank you very much. For the record, I do think I'd have this job even if the other guys won.
Yeah, but at a lesser salary. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, but at a lesser salary. Donald Trump calling it like it is. Yeah, okay, you might have had this job, but they wouldn't have paid you nearly as much as as much as they're paying you for this job right now. And that is, and look, and he loves his job, this Tony guy. Donald Trump loves his job. Everybody loves, you know who really loves their jobs? ICE agents love their jobs. This is video of an ICE agent. Before I play you the latest from, what's his name? Fry. Where is it? Did I have the one from Fry? Yeah, here it is. Before I play you the latest from Fry, I want you to listen to this. This is an ICE agent who was being taunted by crazy left-wing lunatics in Minneapolis about how much money they make. Listen to this.
I don't care what they told you. If you guys get in my way, I will arrest you.
Sir, we're just observing. Please calm down.
You can observe all you want.
I am observing. Do you see
back.
me in the way? I am bad.
You had anger issues as a kid, didn't you? Were your parents present? You should be ashamed of yourself, man.
He is.
I love my job, thank you.
You love your job?
I can't believe I get paid for this.
Really?
I do this for free.
Really, I get $200K. I'm a physician assistant.
How long did you go to school for that?
Over 7 years.
I went to high school. I make $200K.
Oh, Bert, look at that. This woman's like, I'm a physician's assistant. I make $200K. And he goes, oh yeah, how long did you have to go to school for that? She's like 4 years. He goes, I went to high school and I make $200K. So I love my job, lady. I get to be out here in the fresh air talking to you fine people. I get to carry a gun. I'm on the right side of the law. Yeah, I love my job. And I make as much as you do. And I didn't have to go to college. So that is an ICE agent basically handling himself very well in Minneapolis, Minnesota, where there is, I mean, look, these people, what's happening, and the reason why Donald Trump is defunding these sanctuary cities is because this is not a group of random protesters who are angry about something. This is a coordinated attack on government. It's a coordinated attack on law enforcement. Stephen Miller was on with Laura Ingraham, and Stephen Miller said, look, here's the deal. Let me explain to you what's going on so that there's no mistake. First of all, President Donald Trump is not going to change his mind. He's not going to change his mind because some people in Minneapolis are angry. And second of all, these aren't just people in Minneapolis. These are pros.
The president of the United States is never going to make a decision about what to do or what not to do based on how it might upset the violent left-wing insurgents. His obligation, what he is supremely committed to, is enforcing and upholding the sovereignty of the United States. I'm familiar with the video that you're referencing, where a mob of Somali refugees swarmed ICE officers, and the profound contempt this refugee population that has built this nation has for our country, our flag, our law enforcement officers. And what I would just say to reassure your audience, to reassure you, is that under the new federal surge that has taken place and the additional assets that have been put in place under President Trump's direction, under Secretary Noem's leadership, we now have the resources we need, not only to protect the safety and security of our ICE officers and our border agents and their operations, but to begin the work of identifying, disrupting, and dismantling these insurgent networks. As you mentioned, they're very coordinated. They have ICE spotters and ICE watchers. They use chats to communicate with each other, to identify the location, and then they train their insurgents on how to block ICE vehicles, how to try to free arrestees, and then they dox ICE officers, they follow them home, they follow them to where they sleep at night. So again, it's a sophisticated insurgency involving a large number of radicalized, extremist, violent left-wing operators stoked by the Democrat Party. The resources and strategy is in place now, and you're going to see significant numbers. There's already been in recent days a huge increase in arrests of domestic insurgents, but those numbers are going to increase. And I just want to put this back to the American people. You said it, Laura. Americans voted in a landslide to uphold the sovereignty of this country. Americans, by overwhelming majorities, oppose mass Somali fraud. Americans, by overwhelming majorities, just oppose Somali refugee resettlement in principle. So the public is behind this. Minnesota was once a pristine state. Perfect education, no crime, no unrest, no violence, and then they ruined all of it, Laura, and President Trump is saving it.
Yeah, that's basically what we've, and Donald Trump mentioned that too. He's got a surprise for Somali fraudsters. He didn't think about, he didn't forget about them. When he was at his speech yesterday, he said, look, we're going to defund these sanctuary cities. We're going to go in and we're going to make sure that you are going to be defunded. We're not going to give you federal money for claiming sanctuary status and keeping these criminals safe. We're not going to do that at all. And we're also going to revoke the citizenship of any Somali immigrant who defrauds the government of the United States of America.
We're also going to revoke the citizenship of any naturalized immigrant from Somalia or anywhere else who is convicted of defrauding our citizens. We're going to get them the hell out of here fast. And if you come to America to rob Americans, we're throwing you in jail and we're sending you back to the place from where you came. We're throwing you right in jail.
Yeah, now that's if you come to the United States of America to rob American citizens. I'll explain to you what exactly I understand the law to be. But first, let's check in very quickly on our... Oh, look at that. We are getting close. We're 520 away. We are 520 subscribers away from our 100,000 subscriber goal. We're 520 subscribers away from that silver plaque. We are 520 subscribers away from the 100,000. All right. Yeah. So if you just stumbled on this channel, if you're watching us for the first time, go ahead and hit the button that says subscribe. And that way you can be part of the fun. We're going to try. We've got 30 more minutes. Now, in the first 30 minutes, there's one. In the first 30 minutes, we got about 80 subscribers. So I don't know that we're going to get a full 500 by the time that, but you know what? Maybe we will. Maybe miracles will happen. Maybe something will be up. If you have a long list of individuals that you know, if you have a big group chat, if you have some kind of email list, if you just, if you just run around, maybe you're in your office or maybe you're at a restaurant, just start yelling and screaming. Everybody go to YouTube and follow Mark K because, pardon me. We want to make sure that I would love to hit that goal live because I would just love to celebrate with everybody. It'd be anticlimactic if I did it when I was sitting on the toilet after the show, which would be fine. I mean, again, you can't really plan these things. You can't. Look at that. We just bumped up again, another 7. So we're getting closer. We're getting closer and closer, and we'll keep an eye on that. But President Donald Trump, he's declared Somali citizens, he's going to boot them out of the country if they've committed fraud. Now, as a legal immigrant myself, as a naturalized citizen, the way I understand it is, if you are in the United States of America and you are a legalized naturalized citizen and you break the law, you're treated basically just like any other citizen. You go to court, you have a trial, a jury of your peers, yada, yada, and then you go to prison or you get released, whichever way the jury decides. That's basically what happens. When you break the law as a naturalized citizen, it's the same as if you broke the law as a citizen. That's the understanding that I have. If, however, like, for example, if I came to this country, became a citizen, lived here for like 10 years, and then decided I was going to defraud the government by opening up a Leering Center in Minneapolis, Minnesota, that is totally against the law, but I couldn't be deported. If, however, you commit fraud to become a naturalized citizen, or if you got to get in, be one of the ways I think that they talk about defrauding the government and making it so that you are, you're basically just able to be denaturalized and sent back home. That's the way I understand it. Anyway, again, I'm no lawyer, but I was waitlisted by one of the finest law schools in the country. So you never know. You never really know what's going on. With that kind of thing. Now, the other thing that President Donald Trump was talking, and again, if I were Ilhan Omar, she was caught at the Capitol by, I guess she's become as popular, and they love this, by the way. Don't think that they don't like it. They love it. Ilhan Omar, it was Mike Lindell TV, which Mike Lindell starting a TV network or whatever, Lindell TV, that's one of the best things that ever happened. Lindell TV, this woman on Lindell TV, I don't remember her name, but she's walking with Ilhan Omar in the Capitol building, and Ilhan Omar not even pretending like she's aggravated. She loves the attention. This is what the squad's all about. They want to know who's going to talk to them, who's going to talk about them, how many clicks can they get, are they going to go viral? And Ilhan Omar is one of the it girls, if you will, of the Democrat resistance, and she loves every little bit of it.
Congresswoman, Republicans have repeatedly stated that you committed immigration fraud. Are you at all worried about a formal investigation that could perhaps lead to your deportation?
Well, you're one of those people.
I don't know what that means, but are you at all concerned?
Do I look concerned?
I guess not.
Okay.
All right. What about the Minnesota fraud hearing? You didn't show up for that. Do you think you should have?
Why should I have?
Well, it happened in your state. Don't you want to defend your position?
There were people from my state that were there.
Okay, but why not you? I mean, there's allegations that you're complicit in the fraud. Wouldn't you want to show up?
Why would there be an allegation that I'm complicit? How would I be complicit?
Well, what about Tim Walz?
Do you just ask stupid questions? Is this your thing?
I'm curious to get your thoughts.
No,
I mean, there's a lot of controversy around the issue. $9 billion in fraud in the state of Minnesota.
$9 billion?
You don't think so?
Really?
Yeah, and counting. Probably more, honestly. You think that's fake news or what?
That is more than half of the resources that are allocated.
Okay.
So you genuinely, your brain has told you that it is possible for half of the resources.
I'm just going off of what
for our public service to have disappeared, is what you're saying.
Countless Minnesota state representatives, whistleblowers have come
listen
forward.
To yourself, though.
I'm
just think about that for a second.
Maybe if you showed up at the hearing, you would know that whistleblowers are being retaliated against for exposing the fraud. Why is that? Why are they being tracked and traced?
Just think about what you're asking. Who is tracing whistleblowers?
Minnesota state officials, Tim Walz, anyone who dares to speak out against the government.
Tim Walz is doing something to whistleblowers?
Yeah, why is Tim Walz stepping down if he's, innocent? Why isn't he running for re-election?
Because he's had 8 years to serve as our great governor.
He was going to be vice president of the United States if Kamala won.
Yes, and he would have been an excellent vice president.
But now he's stepping down.
Much better than the person we have right now.
And now he's stepping down as governor. Any comment on that? You don't think he's maybe complicit?
He is focusing on trying to make sure our state remains great. All right. Have a nice day.
Thank you. You too.
Please read.
By the way, I've been in that hallway. It is that long, by the way. It is that long. That is why reporters love it, because you are walking there forever. It's the outside of the rotunda. You can see it's like it's the outside of the rotunda, and there's this piping and things like that. And then on the inside wall, they've got the artwork. They've got all this artwork that kids and people have submitted, and they win. It doesn't matter. But the fact of the matter is that was Ilhan Omar, and you noticed she was very, very put off by that entire encounter. She kept answering questions with questions. Why would you say that? Why would you think I'd be worried about allegations? Why do you think I've defrauded this? Why do you think I've done that? Just over and over and over, peppering this woman with questions instead of answers. She's in there and she's talking about all of the other thing. You know, Tim Walz was a great governor, is a great governor, and he will be, would have been a great vice president, way better than J.D. Vance. These are all of the things that she's trying to relay to try to get the heat off of herself, because she knows that, yeah, there are implications that she may be involved in this, and there are implications that she could be criminally negligent or criminally involved, and also as a result, there could be some deportation or denaturalization going on, which could be detrimental as well. Maybe we could send her to Greenland. We'll get to that in just a minute. Here's Jacob Fry. Jacob Fry is the mayor of Minneapolis for now, and he's being asked about the funding being pulled. Listen to this.
So he is threatening to pull funding from sanctuary jurisdictions that have policies such as Minneapolis. Your reaction?
We have a separation ordinance in the city, and you know what that ordinance says? It says that I want our limited numbers of police officers focusing on keeping people safe, arresting perpetrators of violent crimes, stopping car thefts from taking place. That's what I want them focusing on. You know what I don't want them focusing on? Hunting down a dad that just dropped his kids off at daycare, is about to go work a 12-hour shift, who happens to be from Ecuador. That guy makes our city a better place. So again, if we're talking about arresting violent criminals, Minneapolis does not oppose that, but that's not what is taking place in the streets of our city. People who are American citizens.
I appreciate the compassion.
I want to say this again. American citizens are being taken off our streets right now, and I hope any American citizen out there can understand how concerning that is.
I appreciate
freedom.
your
We should
compassion,
be about
but
freedom
Mr.
in
Mayor,
this country. We should be about liberty. And when you are an American citizen that is being picked up by a federal agent of any administration, we should all be saying, you know what, let's take a beat, let's think this through. Maybe this isn't right.
There's two sides to this story. You mentioned an Ecuadorian migrant. Are you familiar with Victoria Eileen Harwell? An Ecuadorian illegal immigrant in August of 2024, driving drunk, crashed head-on into Victoria Harwell, killing her. Her 14-year-old daughter survived, and her sister. ICE released her, local Hennepin County released her not once but twice, and didn't cooperate with ICE detainers. Why not, since you're in favor of removing them, cooperate with ICE? Whether you have this sanctuary policy that the DHS says it is, you call it a separation ordinance. Why not just cooperate and make it safer for everyone involved? The community, the officers, and even the migrants.
My position here is pretty straightforward, and that's this. If you commit a crime, if you commit fraud, if you commit a carjacking or a murder, you should be investigated, charged, prosecuted, held accountable, and yes, arrested and put in jail. That is my position if you commit a crime and you are a problem on the streets of the city of Minneapolis that has made us less safe. What I am saying is that a lot of the people that ICE is picking up right now in our city are not a problem for Minneapolis. They've opened businesses. They've been here for longer than I've been here. They contribute so beautiful and greatly to our city. They have families here. They're our neighbors, and yeah, we love them. We love them and we care about them. And I hope that people throughout the country can understand that, we got to be thinking about other people as if it were ourselves. What would we do in these situations? How would we handle ourselves? And
yeah, and then he just goes on and on and on. I will say this. It was shocking to me to see him in a tie, because throughout this entire experience, he's not been wearing a tie. And maybe somebody pointed that out to him. I don't know if maybe somebody listens to the show. Maybe somebody in the Minneapolis mayor's office in the communications department was listening to the show one day or saw me on Newsmax and mentioned something about how Mayor Fry never wears a tie and how are we supposed to take him seriously. And they mentioned it to him because he was wearing a tie for that entire interview, which and maybe that's why he was so uncomfortable. That, and he's also full of crap. Speaking of things that are full of crap, let's check in real quick. 99,511. We are now under 500. We now only need 489 more people. Wow, look at this. We've got about 30 more minutes to get 489 people to subscribe to the channel. And if you're just watching for the first time, welcome to Mark K Saves the Republic. You could be part of history. History? Yeah. You could be part of history today by subscribing to the channel and being there when we go over the 100,000 user mark. But as you can see, it's moving kind of slowly. I don't know. We haven't seen any movement. We haven't seen any movement in the last minute or so. So I don't think, like I said, I would love for it. I may even run to the kitchen and get a bottle of something and pop it open. I don't think I have any alcohol, so it might be like a can of Poppy or something like that. But whatever it is, I might go to the kitchen and pop something. I have a water here. I might pop the top on this water bottle if we reach the 100,000 subscriber mark. Go ahead, like I said, and subscribe right now. Tell all your friends, share this broadcast with everybody you know, because all we need is 400. They don't ever have to come back again. We just need them here today. So we can make that monumental move. Oh, now look at that. Now we just need 484, 83. I love it. This is great. It's fun to watch it in real time. We should have been, you know what? Maybe if we watched it in real time for the past year and a half, we would have gotten there already. But you know what? That's neither here nor there. Speaking of full of crap, let's go back to The View, shall we? I know it's painful for people. Let's go back to The View, where Joy Behar was talking about President Donald Trump. Joy Behar was talking about ICE agents. Joy Behar was talking about all of the things that are going on right now in Minneapolis. And she said this has to be part of President Donald Trump's dastardly plan. Donald Trump's dastardly plan to call off the midterm elections.
I really worry about that Trump is looking for this kind of pandemonium to go on, like you just described, so that he could declare martial law or something, and also cancel the midterms.
Well, under martial law, you won't have elections. Yeah. That's what she's saying. But listen,
because he's worried. He even said,
if
the Democrats take Congress next time, I will be impeached, which means that he could be convicted and sent to jail. He does not want that to happen.
Yeah. So she's saying Donald Trump wants all of this pandemonium. Why does he want all of this pandemonium? Simple. So he can create or cause or call martial law and call off the midterm elections. Now, I'd have to check the Constitution again, but I don't think the president of the United States can call off elections. In fact, I don't think we call off elections here in the United States. We've never called off an election before. If any time they were going to maybe call off an election, it would have been during COVID. But no, we didn't call off elections during World War I. We didn't call off elections during World War II. We didn't call off elections during Vietnam. We haven't called off elections. I mean, I've been on this earth for 50 years. There's never once been not an election. And if there weren't an election, or if an election were called off, it never would have been because of the president of the United States order. I mean, that doesn't happen. Maybe in Venezuela or in Ukraine. You know where they do that? Ukraine. All you people that love Volodymyr Zelensky, you probably know this already. Volodymyr Zelensky canceled the elections in Ukraine until after the war. So guess who gets to be president of Ukraine for a lot longer? Volodymyr Zelensky. Volodymyr Zelensky canceled the election in Ukraine so that he could retain power, so that he could be on the cover of Vogue, so that he could continue to make money, so that he could continue to do all of these things without any kind of restraint. And when the war is over, which guess who's not negotiating a peace, Volodymyr Zelensky, he'll step down and they'll call an election and they'll elect a new president. So that, I guess, that's his plan. But never before I don't even know how that would happen. Martial law and no midterm elections. Also, if Donald Trump were going to call off an election, why would it be a midterm election? Because He already knows he's going to get impeached. He's not going to get removed from office or thrown. What is it she said? She said thrown in jail?
I really worry about that Trump is looking for this kind of pandemonium to go on, like you just described, so that he can declare martial law or something, and also cancel the midterms.
Well, under martial law, you won't have elections.
Yeah.
That's what she's saying. But listen,
because he's worried. He even
states
said,
do administer
if
the
the
elections in
Democrats
this country,
take
so that
Congress
helps.
next time, I will be impeached, which means that he could be convicted and sent to jail. He does.
Okay. If you're impeached and convicted, you don't get sent to jail. You get sent back to Mar-a-Lago. That's you would think that somebody who'd lived through multiple impeachments of President Donald Trump already would know how it works. Donald Trump's already been impeached twice. Joy Behar should be well versed in the legal jargon or the constitutional requirements. What happens is if Donald Trump is impeached in the House of Representatives, it goes to the Senate. If the Senate votes to remove him from office, then he's removed from office. Nobody goes to jail. Nobody is going to, you don't get impeached and go to jail. If that were the case, man, we'd have a lot of presidents and, well, Bill Clinton maybe would be in jail. Maybe not a lot, but maybe if that were the option, then maybe a lot of things would have gone the other way, but that's not how it works at all. There's no criminal proceedings, and impeachment is not a criminal proceeding. It's amazing the kind of spew that comes off of The View in an effort to scare their viewers into thinking that Donald Trump is going to destroy the United States of America. If anything, Donald Trump is not trying to destroy the United States of America. He's trying to make it bigger and better, which is why he's trying to invade Greenland. And that's why you have all of these people from Greenland and Denmark here at the White House right now. They're there. They are walking in. They're walking in. They look very solemn and somber. They're meeting. Is that Caroline Leavitt or is that Matt? I think that's Crowley. Monica Crowley's there to meet them. And Monica Crowley's like, thank you for coming to the White House. We appreciate it. Welcome to a place where there's not just ice. There's ice, but not the kind of ice you're thinking of. Not the kind of ice you're thinking of. Totally different kind of ice. We have different ice here in the United States of America. All right, come on in. Let's talk about how we're going to invade your country and take it over, or you could just give it to us. That's the conversation going on right now with Greenland and Denmark. Marco Rubio and JD Vance are involved in all of that. Meanwhile, RFK Jr. was on Jason Miller's wife's podcast, and she asked him about President Donald Trump's eating habits. Why? Well, because, he's chairman of the Secretary of the Health and Human Services Department. He is a specimen of health and manhood for a man his age. And he's very particular about what he puts in his body and what everyone else should put in their bodies. And so she said, hey, what do you think about Donald Trump's diet here? Or actually, she said, who do you think has the worst diet? Listen to what he said.
Who has the most unhinged eating habits?
The president. The interesting thing about the president is that he eats really bad food, which is McDonald's, and then, candy and Diet Coke. But he drinks the Diet Coke all times. He has the constitution of a deity. I don't know how he's alive, but he is. And he's at Mar-a-Lago. He says that the only time that he eats the junk food is when he's on the road, and he wants to eat food from big corporations because he trusts it. He doesn't want to get sick when he's on the road. But when he's at Mar-a-Lago or at the White House, he's eating really good food. So I think you get this, if you travel with him, you get this idea that he's just pumping himself full of poison all day long, and you don't know how he's walking around, much less being the most energetic person, any of us have ever met.
Yeah. So that is RFK Jr. And he's saying, hey, look, here's the dealio. Donald Trump eats crap food on the road. Now, when he's at Mar-a-Lago, bam, he eats great. When he's at the White House, bam, he eats great. I've been to Mar-a-Lago. You cannot eat badly at Mar-a-Lago. The food there is amazing. Except, it's so funny. The media gets like sandwiches from Jersey Mike's or something like that. Not like that's bad, but everyone there gets fantastic food. Everyone there gets amazing hors d'oeuvres and little sliders made with crab meat and all this kind of stuff. But if you're in the press gallery or the press area, they basically dump one of those round trays of Jersey Mike's sandwiches out there and they go, enjoy, like slop for the pig. Although I'll chow down on some Jersey Mike's any day of the week. But the fact of the matter is that, yes, you eat well when you're at home or when you're at Mar-a-Lago, when you're at a 5-star resort in Boca Raton, Florida, or West Palm Beach, Florida. But I will say this. The interesting thing he said there about eating on the road or when he's traveling is that it's not just, there were two things about it that really caught my eye or caught my ear. The first thing he said was when Donald Trump travels, he likes to eat big corporate food. That's why he eats at McDonald's. That's why he drinks Diet Coke. And he eats big corporate food because he trusts it more. He trusts it more. He thinks, I'm not going to get sick. That is a very common take. When you have something that is processed and deep fried and basically, on a conveyor belt, there's a systematic kind of, I get comfort in it. And a lot of people feel that way about the food that they eat, especially when they go to fast food restaurants. They'll only eat the fried stuff. In fact, I worked at a place, I'm not going to name the name, but when I was in high school, I worked at an ice cream parlor that was like a diner/ice cream parlor, and people would come in for lunches, and there were burgers and fries and stuff like that. We had a cook, one of the short order cooks, his name was Moses. And as an employee, I was a waiter, but as an employee at this restaurant, everybody at the end of their shift was allowed to have one meal on the house. It was actually kind of nice. You could order whatever you wanted and you got it on the house. And so one day, after working there for like a year, I noticed that Moses at the end of his shift would just sit in the corner with a toothpick, just picking his teeth like this, and he would never eat. And we're all getting our sandwiches, I would get like, they had like a club sandwich, which I would get, or someone else would just get like a salad with some fries, girl lunch. And so we're sitting there and I'm watching, and Moses is just sitting there looking at us, picking his teeth. And so one day I went up to him, I said, Moses, and remember, he was the cook. I said, Moses, I noticed you never eat any of the food here. And he goes, I wouldn't eat here. I go, wait, what? I go, is it not sanitary, or like why wouldn't you eat here? And he goes, come here, come closer. And I come in close. And I guess he likes me. He goes, fried chicken sandwich. And I go, what? He goes, fried chicken sandwich. And I said, okay. He goes, that's the only thing you should ever eat here. Fried chicken sandwich. He goes, it's been in the grease long enough to kill anything. And guess what? After that, I only ate fried chicken sandwich. I didn't stop eating there because I'm like, free food's free food. But I only ate fried chicken sandwiches after that because Moses, the cook, warned me that the only thing that you should eat are fried chicken sandwiches. And I think that Donald Trump has that similar mentality. If you go to McDonald's, or if you go to, the fries are deep fried, the burger's kind of, cooked or grilled, or it's on the griddle. I mean, it doesn't look like it clearly looks like it's been totally tapped out. And there's some kind of, there's an excitement to it. There's a comfort to it. There's a trust to it that you're not going to get sick because you've eaten it over and over again. And you know that anywhere you go in the world, anywhere you go in the country, if you go to McDonald's, you're getting the same exact thing cooked the exact same way. And I believe that. I think that's true. If you not to say that local restaurants or fresh restaurants are dirty or anything, or there's any problems with them, but you never know. There could be problems with them. You don't have the same kind of trust in them that you have. And then the second part of that was he said he likes to support corporations. He likes to eat big corporate food because he likes to support corporations. Why? Well, because corporations are the backbone of the United States of America. And if corporations are the backbone of the United States of America and Donald Trump is supporting them, then he's supporting the United States of America. That's something he believes, and that's something I believe that he truly does. Now, RFK Jr., totally, he only eats what he kills, I think. When they're on the road, he'll they'll pull over and he'll be like, stop here. And he'll go out and he'll just crack a deer's neck and haul it into the back of the beast. And then whenever they get to the hotel, he'll skin it. He reminds me of Dwight Schrute. He would pick up a goose on the side of the road after he hit it with his car, that kind of thing. I imagine that Dwight Schrute and RFK Jr. have very similar styles of food preparation and nutritional whatever. So there you go. Listen, we are now at 99,547. So we are still a solid 453 away from our goal of 100,000 subscribers. If we stayed on, we would have to stay on here for hours at this rate. And if you're watching and you haven't yet subscribed, do us a solid. Let's see if maybe we can at least get to 99,600. If we can maybe get to 99,600, then that would be a solid day. And I think we could rest easy knowing that sometime in the middle of the night, we will cross that threshold into 100,000 sometime when I'm in the shower later, or when I'm I don't know, watching Real Housewives of Beverly Hills with my wife, sometime we would cross that. Oh, look at that. We're at 540. Perfect. That's a good goal to get to. And if you know anybody else who has a YouTube account, send them this link. Tell them you love it. Here's the thing about this show. If you really like this show, we're all kind of like-minded. Like people like me and you, and we all think alike. You probably know other people who are like-minded. You probably know other people who would enjoy this show. And if you sent them this link and told them to subscribe or to watch, they would 100% be grateful to you, because people are grateful to people that share cool things with them. If you don't know anybody who would like this show, or if you know a lot of like libs, then share it with them anyway, because it's always fun to tick a liberal off. Like if liberals go crazy, or they get totally, amped up because of things that I'm saying on the show, I also love that too. So either way, either you have like-minded people that watch the show that you think would enjoy the show, or a bunch of liberals that would hate you for it. Triggering liberals is one of my favorite things to do. Anyway, we're at 99,552. Thank you to all of our brand new subscribers today. Thank you to everybody who was able to hit that button today. And we will keep bringing you content. We're going to keep bringing you brand new content, and no matter how many subscribers we have, because that's not what it's all about. It's all about bringing you the truth. It's all about letting you know, hey, here's who's coming after you. Here's who's got your back. Here's who's lying to you. Here's who's attacking your way of life. Here's who thinks you're an idiot. Here's who you should support because they're out there supporting you. It's about making sure that the right people are in the right position to keep this country moving forward, and the wrong people get nowhere near the halls of power, so that we can continue to make America as great a country as possible. And if you subscribe to this show, great. We're going to keep bringing you that content. We're going to come together every single day so that we can continue to learn. We can continue to train. We can continue to talk. We can continue to educate each other. We can continue to enlighten each other, and we can continue to inspire each other, so that we can, all 99,555 of us, fight, so we can save the Republic.